Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Amateur Experts Podcast, where we are experts on absolutely nothing. Finally got a full crew again this week. We have Drew, Jared down there at the bottom joining us, and I am your host, Landon Oliver. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to have the whole gang back.
Yes, sir. Doing well.
Yes, sir. We got Thursday night going on, Thursday night game, or if you can really even call it a game. It's as of right now, it's 28-7 Tampa Bay. And the Eagles look like they're relying on pass interference to even move the ball down the field because that's been their best play all night. But hopefully we got some better games. Oh my gosh, he handed the ball off. Look at that. They got a first down. So this week, you already know what it is. We have our smash and pass and our money-making matchups for week 6. Week 6 is already up on us. It's been a crazy week over the last week. We've obviously had a lot of news that we covered in our review of week 5, but it's all setting up for a pretty insane week 6. And there's a lot of really good games. There's a lot of really good matchups as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about getting into this and getting into our smash and pass and our DFS, hopefully winning some money this week. So thankfully this week I do not have tight ends, so that's not a headache I have to worry about. That honor goes to Drew. So
if you want to call it an honor.
Yeah, I'll say I'm terribly sorry for that. Good luck. So we will go ahead and get started unless you guys have any topics you want to touch on real quick. Anything going on that we need to cover before?
Well, I didn't do the episode where we did week 5 and we reviewed it. I just want to officially say I shit the bed in week 5 really bad. Like anything like I touched was bad. Between starting Derek Carr and him, the Raiders, that whole game was fantasy awfulness. And then, obviously that team's got a lot going on now too. And then pass on Justin Herbert, who was QB1. It was a brutal week.
I can't let you beat yourself up too much though, because 1, I did also co-sign you on the Herbert thing, and then 2, you absolutely killed your running back smasher pass last week as well. So that it wasn't all bad. You did you nailed it for the running back smash and pass last week. So I'm not gonna let you sit here and beat yourself up too bad, because there was some good to go along with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as with anything, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to get into it.
Good, man. Well,
you get to lead it off. You got the running backs this week. So
let's get started. I'm really excited about some running backs this week. And without further ado, let's go ahead and throw my running back smash up, because this guy is about to annihilate, and that is James Robinson. So just a few points on James Robinson. Obviously, we know how great of a first half he had last week, and then he was completely forgotten about in the second half. Literally, I don't know why, but
Urban.
Yeah, they asked Urban Meyer about it. They were like, "Why did you go away from James Robinson?" Urban Meyer said, "Oh, I didn't realize that we did. Like, I'll have to look at the tape." Like, the guy had no idea that he wasn't giving his running back carries. For whatever reason, he has a massive love affair with Carlos Hyde. And despite all that, despite Urban Meyer, despite Carlos Hyde, this is just too good of a matchup to pass up. It's set up so perfectly. And let me pull up some interesting James Robinson stuff here for you as well. And while I'm pulling this up, do you guys want to go over any James Robinson points?
I just want to say, now that we're 5 weeks deep, we've kind of been able to start to develop some trends, and while they're not foolproof, but running backs have kind of started to develop into, don't start your running backs against the Buccaneers, other than, Myles Gaskin last week, but he did all of his damage through the air. And then you also want to start your running backs against the Dolphins. That's kind of the two big trends, at least in my mind, that have developed in the running back position. So with him playing the Dolphins this week, yeah, I'm definitely on board with this, even if Urban Meyer does his best to keep him out of the game plan. I think he's going to have a huge week. So
yeah. So even with that, he is on pace now for 1,315 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground with an additional 48 receptions. So even with Urban Meyer doing the Urban thing, James Robinson's still getting good work, and he's still one of the most efficient running backs in the league. Miami is, we saw the Colts run on them. We saw last week I can't remember who they played last week. Who did they play last week?
I'll get that for you while you keep making your James Robinson points.
Was it Jacksonville?
Tampa. It was Tampa.
Yeah,
Leonard Fournette.
And Leonard Fournette. I mean, no, granted, Leonard Fournette's not doing to them what he's doing to the Philadelphia Eagles right now, but
he had a great game too.
Even then, yeah, he had a great game. It's just been one of those things that, for whatever reason, that Miami defense has really taken a step back this year, and we all agree that Brian Flores, going into the year, what a fantastic defensive coach that he has been. They lost a lot of the pieces that they had last year for, whatever reason. I don't know why. And it's really showing up on the field. They cannot stop the run almost like exclusively. Jacksonville's pass catching weapons are banged up. They have almost nobody to throw to. I mean, I believe, even for whatever reason, Laviska Shenault is not getting targeted. It's just dumbfounded. Urban's going to Urban, but I think this week Urban kind of, I think he kind of gets out of his own way to an extent. They're going over to London, which is a weird game anyway, because both teams are from Florida. They're going over to London to play. And for whatever reason, the London fans, they deserve a big James Robinson performance. And I think this is the week they're going to, obviously there's other weeks that he performs well. Last week, he was fantastic in the first half. But I think this week they're going to make a concerted effort just because it was brought up to his attention that he's given Carlos Hyde way too many carries, and he didn't even know he was doing it. I believe James Robinson had one or two touches in the second half last week, which is just, it is what it is. But I think they're going to make a concerted effort to remedy that this week. And so if you have James Robinson in DFS or in your lineup, obviously you're going to start him if you're playing him in redraft or, season-long fantasy. You're not taking him out. But for DFS purposes, if you need a guy that you need to plug in that is going to produce this week, James Robinson's your man.
Just one thing that you brought up, daily fantasy. That game actually won't be on the main slate, but it'd be
an island game.
It is because it's in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's so early. And
but he could be the person you pick as your MVP or your captain, depending on what platform you play on. He could be a good person that could fit that mold too. So making your MVP decision a little bit easier.
Yeah, so now we would get into my pass, and this is kind of an interesting one because Chris Carson is still not practicing. There's some question marks on what's going to happen there in Seattle, but based off of last week, Alex Collins did take the majority of the carries. I believe he had 15 carries for 47 yards. They lost against the Rams. He had the one big, I won't even say big run. It was, his longest run was 13 yards. But otherwise, he was held in check pretty much the rest of the time. And he only added 2 catches through to the ground. And as great as the Rams defense are, the Pittsburgh Steelers are way stingier on the ground against running backs. So I think, while you might have gotten decent production out of Alex Collins last week, not good production, but decent, and you're a Chris Carson owner that has Alex Collins, I think this is going to be the week that you want to set him on your bench, and you want to avoid him in any DFS scenarios. I'm not looking anywhere towards Alex Collins this week, and it basically just comes down to he got the majority of the workload last week, wasn't very productive. Now he's facing a tougher run defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's just spells a whole lot of disaster. So yeah, if you are a Chris Carson owner, you do have Alex Collins as, for whatever reason on your team, and you're thinking about starting him in place of Chris Carson. If you have a different option, just go ahead and plug a different option in.
So let me ask you, if somehow Chris Carson miraculously practices tomorrow, Friday, the day most people will be listening to this, if you are listening,
Right.
And Chris Carson ends up being active for this game, are you okay saying Chris Carson would also be a pass this weekend as well?
Yes. I'm avoiding Seattle altogether. Like
I completely agree. I wanted to clear that up just in case somehow that happened.
Yeah, and I mean, this is even going into not only that, but Russell Wilson is also hurt. So they're going to stack. They want Geno Smith to throw the ball. They're going to stack the box.
And that's how you beat the Steelers too. I mean, you can't run on them. You can't pass to the tight end. You got to pass to your receivers.
Well, luckily they do have two great wide receivers. But, but at the same time, I mean, it's basically all going to fall on the arm of Geno Smith, and I'm not trusting that arm too much. Now he did look pretty decent there last week.
He didn't look bad whenever he came in for relief, but the Steelers have an entire week of preparing for Geno Smith. So
I'll add one thing to it. With Russell Wilson being hurt, definitely, Alex Collins is a fade because they're going to try to make Geno beat him, like you guys were saying. But from a DFS perspective, you're never going to find DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett at low ownership like you're going to see this week. And if you believe in the skill set and you believe in Geno Smith can be an NFL quarterback, I mean, that's definitely an area you might want to look in. But Collins is definitely a fade.
Yeah, and I actually like DK. I think Geno is actually going to kind of lean on Tyler Lockett's a lot more feast or famine, where I think DK can be kind of the every down guy that gets a lot of the targets this week. So I do think DK is going to have a pretty decent week, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's going to be my pass of the week. And now, if you happen to have Alex Collins, but if you have this guy on your roster, I'd much rather you play this guy. And that is Clil Herbert, running back for the Chicago Bears. Now, he has a really good matchup with Green Bay. They do struggle with running against the run, and that they're going to want to take Aaron Rodgers off the field as much as they can. Justin Fields obviously helps your running back. Big thing with this is Damian Williams is hurt now. So even when Damian Williams was healthy and had a really good game last week, Clil Herbert saw 18 carries and 2 targets. So he still had 20 touches in a game with Damian Williams. Now you're looking at Damian Williams being out of that game. Clil Herbert's workload is probably going to increase another 5 to 10 touches on top of that. And he has a plus matchup. So this is a guy that's going really cheap. He was decently productive last week. He wasn't really used too much in the receiving game, but he actually had 2 more carries on the ground than Damian Williams did. And I think this is a guy that, while he didn't see any receiving work, I can see him getting a little bit receiving work. A really good all-purpose guy. Coming out of college, he has the ability to get north and south really fast. He's got really good ball security. You're not worried about him fumbling the ball. I just think this, with the matchup and the carries and everything pointing that direction, plus with Justin Fields still being on the field, and you always have to worry about that guy as a threat in the run game, I think Clil Herbert is a really good option. I think he's a really good flex play and could end up sneaking into that RB2 category there at the low end of RB2s this week.
And I think he could end up even higher than that, to be honest with you. Not only was Damian Williams dealing with foot and knee injuries earlier this week. He actually tested positive for COVID today.
Oh, really?
So he is pretty much guaranteed to be out for this week. So that leaves in the back with David Montgomery also out, Tariq Cohen still on the pup. That leaves Clil Herbert, Artavius Pierce, and Ryan Nall as the running backs for this game. So I think Clil Herbert's in for a pretty close to a workhorse type of day. And so if they can control the ball and keep Rodgers off the field, I think Herbert could be in for a big day to where he could be in like that high to mid-tier RB2 this weekend. So
yeah.
I'm 100% on board with this pick.
I saw coming out of college, he was referred to as the baby version of Nick Chubb. So he's going to have every chance to prove that this weekend. He's going to be a workhorse there in Chicago against a Green Bay defense that, well, I mean, like we said, they've struggled so far to stop the run, and they're going to want to establish that to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. They're going to want to play ball control. Now, hopefully Matt Nagy can get out of his own way, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm rolling out Clil Herbert as a fantastic sleeper. And where's he actually ranked this week? There in the rankings.
Let's go to the ECR here for Fantasy Pros. So in the expert consensus,
Let's go half
rankings for
PPR.
week
This is
6.
standard.
Why does it always default to standard? I even clicked half point PPR earlier. Okay, let's
Clil Herbert
find him.
27.
27. Yeah.
So yeah, I think he definitely beats that ranking.
Do you think he'll be involved with the pass game?
I can see him getting two to 5 targets, nothing major. But I mean, I think he'll get a couple check downs for sure from Justin Herbert.
Which if he gets 5 targets with the carries he's going to get, that's a good day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that'd be 20 touches of that.
To say with the amount of work that he's probably going to get with the rushing game.
He had 18 touches last week.
Yeah, and that was with sharing the load with Damian Williams, who also had 15 carries and got some of the passing work. So there's plenty of touches to be given, and he was very productive with those touches too. 18 carries for 75 yards. A pretty productive day for him.
Yep, I'm on board with this pick.
Yeah, so that'll take care of the running backs. We'll see how that goes, but that is my running back smash or pass.
All right, Jared, the floor is yours.
Well, our smash is going to be Tyreek Hill this week. They're coming off yet another loss. This is weird saying it about the Kansas City Chiefs, who are my AFC Super Bowl pick. It's not looking so hot right now, but this is definitely a bounce back spot for Tyreek Hill. It's coming off that loss against the Buffalo Bills. They're in a good spot. They've got the largest team total on the main slate. So Tyreek Hill is going to be super popular in DFS. Of course, if you have him, you're never going to bench him anyways, but this guy is in an absolute smash spot this week.
Yeah, I agree. This could be one of those Tyreek Hill wins you your week type of weeks.
If you don't play him, you don't win at all kind of game.
Right. Like if he's not in your DFS lineup, you're not going to be toward the top that type of week.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So my pass for the week is going to be DJ Moore. It's nothing against DJ Moore, of course. Like I obviously I believe in the talent. He's been getting a ton of production all season long too. He's coming off a not so great game for like his standards. He was still targeted quite a bit. I just feel like this game is going to get sloppy. There's certain elements of it that I just don't like. And DJ Moore is going to be like super popular, and for all reasons. I mean, he's definitely been Sam Darnold's number one guy. But I do think Minnesota's defense is a little bit better in what they played, and they keep games close. Also, the fact that Christian McCaffrey could come back this week, and even if he doesn't, I think they're still going to involve Chuba Hubbard quite a bit because they like to run the football. I think Carolina's defense is definitely in play for this game, but I will pass on DJ Moore this week.
Okay. How about a sleeper?
Sleeper is Zach Pascal.
Hey, let's go, baby. Let's go, Zach.
Oh, I'm wearing a Jonathan Taylor shirt here, but so Carson Wentz has been better than advertised. Like the record doesn't indicate it, and Pascal gets in the end zone. At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for in fantasy, no matter what format you play in. Zach Pascal is getting targeted. He's looked pretty good. His route running's been really good. They're in an absolute complete smash spot this week too.
And I think just to add to that too, like not only are they in a great matchup, but I think last week, just from listening to some of the guys this week, like they're really, really, really hot about what happened on Monday night.
Yeah, they blew that game. Completely blew that game. But
they've talked all week about having a killer instinct and like this is the get right week. And in my honest opinion, too, I think Pascal is the most electric wide receiver the Colts have, more than Michael Pittman. Me personally, that's my personal belief. And I think this guy right here is the new Houston killer. He is the new T.Y. Hilton. So if Hilton doesn't play, especially, lock in Zach Pascal because I think he is going to be the guy. Yeah, I think he's the most. Well, I won't even say the most reliable. He's extremely reliable. I don't think he's got the top. I don't think he's got the speed of a Paris Campbell. I don't think he's as electric when after he gets the ball in his hands. I think Paris Campbell can create more. But as far as pure route runners go on the team, I think Zach Pascal is by far the best route runner on the roster. And he's always open. They love to move him around and get him involved. And Carson's finally getting healthy. I mean, even last week he had a little bit of mobility issues, but not near as much, as he has the last couple of weeks. So I think the team's finally getting healthier. They want to get right this week because next week T.Y. is going to be back. Quentin Nelson comes back next week. Like, thank God, let's go. So, they're getting healthier. They were really pissed off about last week. And I think Houston's the perfect. Now, Houston, they always end up playing the Colts tough. Outside of, T.Y. Hilton just annihilating them. But yeah, I agree with this. I like Zach Pascal a lot. And I think he could be in for a good game. And he's a really good sleeper pick for sure.
There's a lot of good elements out of it's not being a Colts fan either. Like this is the first time I've ever picked a Colt, to be honest with you. I hate the Colts for fantasy altogether because they're just hard to trust. But there's a lot of big elements in this game of why there's several players that would be good. If you wanted to look outside of Pascal, I mean, there's just 100 million options from this game alone because Houston's basically a AAA football team in NFL at this point. And they lost. I mean, they've been snake bit with injury as well. So a team that was already basically left for dead is in worse shape. And I think it gets out of hand pretty early.
Yeah. I think
this
game's
guy
over
right
by
here has a
halftime.
lot of upside. And he's going to be fairly off the radar too.
This is the first week that I'm actually picking the Colts to win. So we're going into week 6, and this is the first week that I'm like, the Colts will win this game. Because the previous 5 weeks, I've had them losing like every single. Well, I've actually been on point with it because I had them beating Miami against Jacoby Brissett, and I had them losing all the other ones. Now, granted, I love the fact that they played the Rams and the Ravens really tough. That made me feel a lot better because they didn't get blown out. Well, granted, they blew the Ravens game, but even then they didn't get blown out. And that's what I figured would happen with both those games. So they've played some teams really tough as they've been healthy or as they haven't been healthy. And those are really good teams. And now they're finally getting healthy. Their schedule's about to lighten up over the next 5 games. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for some of these Colts players to start stepping up. I would really love to see them get Moelly Cox a little more involved. Just not this week. Not this week.
We're going to talk about him here in just a minute, actually.
More pieces, right?
I love
So
Mac.
getting into my tight end smash of the week. I was actually going to make this guy my tight end sleeper of the week, but I looked at the Fantasy Pros ECR, their expert consensus rankings for this week, and he's tight end 12 in their rankings for the week. And I was like, man, that's just not low enough for me to be comfortable to make him a sleeper. But I love the play. So you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and make him my smash. And the story for him is that in last week, his first full week with Logan Thomas out, which Logan Thomas will not be in this game either against the Kansas City Chiefs. He played 99% of the snaps, ran 90% of routes. He ran one less route than Terry McLaurin last week. Had a 24% target share, and he got 3 end zone targets. The Chiefs are allowing the most receiving yards to tight ends on the season and giving up the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends on the season. So you insert a player that's on the field a ton, running a ton of routes, getting a ton of targets against a defense that's vulnerable. And I think he is one of those guys that can, you know, he's ranked as a borderline tight end 1. I think he will be a, you know, middle tight, like he'll be in that group right behind the elite tight ends this week. I think, you know, that tight end 5 type of range this week is the type of week I could see coming for Ricky Seals-Jones. And he's still out on a lot of waivers as well. So he's somebody you could still plug and play. If you've got, you know, somebody on buy, like if you're the Kyle Pitts owner, if you've still got Ricky Seals-Jones on waivers, go grab him and plug him in, because I think you can get great production out of this guy. And then I don't know what his ownership percentage looks like this week in DFS, because I do know that this is a popular game, but he's a guy that I would love to have my DFS lineup as well. So that's the tight end sleeper turned into tight end smash of the week.
I like it.
Yeah, I like Ricky Seals-Jones a lot. And what's crazy is if you look at the numbers of, I guess, the percentage of routes ran at the tight end position, Logan Thomas is actually number 1 with, I believe it was like 94% of routes ran lining up at tight end. Darren Waller was second at 93 last week in week 5. Ricky Seals-Jones was at 88%. So even though he's at a tight end, he's running a route on last week at 88% of, you know, all plays that he lined up at tight end. So they're getting him involved in the passing game.
Tight end pass of the week. The last time we picked a Chargers player as a pass last week, it did not go well, but I am taking Jared Cook, tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers, as my pass for this week. This one is risky because there's still plenty of upside being a pass catcher in this offense with how well Herbert's playing. But Donald Parham has been over 50% of the snaps for 2 consecutive weeks now. And last week he played his season high in snaps at 53%. I would expect that to continue to trend up slightly. And he seems to be the team's tight end of choice in the red zone. Jared Cook appears to be playing most of his snap between the 20s, and Donald Parham is getting a lot of his snaps once they get into the red zone. And once you get to these, you know, back end tight end 1s, high end tight end 2s, you're really touchdown hunting. And if Jared Cook isn't going to get those snaps in the red zone, that's going to significantly lower his upside on a week to week basis. So, and Donald Parham has the build to be a red zone threat. I mean, he's built for that.
Yeah,
so
he smashed.
Yeah, limited targets. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of targets, but he gets the money targets, though, is where the trend is going. Now, you know, all it takes is Jared Cook being on the field for 1 red zone snap, and this pick goes in the trash can, because all Jared Cook needs to do is catch a touchdown for this pick to go bad. But I'm trusting the trends that we've seen the last couple weeks, and unless Jared Cook's able to break off a big play, I think if they are positioned in the red zone, it looks like Parham is the guy that's getting the looks. So you've been able to roll out Jared Cook most weeks. I think this week you might want to look up elsewhere, you know, maybe to Ricky Seals-Jones. Anything on that before I move on to the sleeper?
No, I agree. It's a timeshare at this point. Like Parham's definitely getting his looks as well, and he is the red zone favorite. So yes, I agree with Jared Cook's pass.
And then I mentioned we were going to talk a little bit more Colts here. So since Ricky Seals-Jones was not low enough for me to make him a sleeper, I dug a little bit deeper into the 20s in the rankings this week and grabbed out Mr. Moelly Cox as my tight end sleeper for this weekend. I'll put my money where my mouth is too. I've got Kyle Pitts on bye in a dynasty league that I'm playing Landon in, and Moelly Cox is a guy I went and picked up to fill in because my other option was Cole Kmet, and I thought he would be better than what he was this year. That has not worked out, so I went waiver wire digging and found, it's not hard to spot Moelly Cox with how big he is, but I was able to find him on the waiver. I picked him up and put him right into my lineup for this week. So, we talked about hunting for touchdowns, and the reason I don't like Jared Cook, and that's the reason I do like Moelly Cox. He's been the most targeted tight end for a couple weeks now for the Colts, especially last week against Baltimore. And now he gets to play Houston, who has allowed top 10 tight end every week so far this season. Every single week, the tight end they faced has finished top 10 on the week. And they haven't faced Kelsey this year. They haven't faced Waller this year. So it's not stats being skewed because they've played a bunch of like the, top 2, top 3 tight ends. They haven't faced Mark Andrews this year. So without facing those guys, they're still letting the other team put up a top 10 fantasy tight end every single week so far this season. So with the targets he's seeing, with the matchup, with his size, his skill, if you're really digging deep like I am in a dynasty league, or if you just want a deep DFS play, whatever the case may be, we're touchdown hunting in this business whenever it comes to tight ends. And I think Moelly Cox is just as good of a bet as anyone. And he's, in terms of the rankings, he's down in the 20s this week. So, couldn't stick with tight end 12 for the sleeper. For my sleeper, had to dig a little bit deeper. So I landed on Big Mo.
Yeah, man. This is tough for me because he's not as involved in the offense as I wish he was. Last week they finally looked towards getting him involved, and obviously, good things happened. But it's so hit or miss every week with their involvement with him. I would love to see them get him the ball at least once or twice a drive, and especially in the red zone. That guy is just absolutely dumb in the red zone because he's just so big and so athletic, and his hands are literally. He has, I know, we joke about the Atlanta Falcons thing with Kyle Pitts and how they, Kyle Pitts has the longest wingspan of any tight end in history. That was actually false. And they've been called out on it multiple times because the tight end with the longest wingspan in NFL history is Moelly Cox. I believe it's something like 87 inches or it's something ridiculous. And his hands, where you could even see there, the football just looks like a Nerf ball whenever he catches it. And that's why he's able to moss so many dudes in the red zone. I don't know why they've refused the previous weeks to get him involved, but last week it seemed like they were finally trending in that direction. And he's had a really good couple weeks. So I hope they continue to get him involved. Just for selfish reasons, I hope it's a big Jack Doyle week this week. I'd like to see Jack Doyle get some end zone targets. But look, if there's any one player on your roster you're starting against me this week that I will not be disappointed if he goes ballistic, it will be Moelly Cox.
So
I'll be cheering right there. I'll be cheering right there with you whenever he catches a touchdown.
Oh no,
right.
I think he's definitely the more athletic out of the two, out of Jack Doyle and Moelly Cox. The one thing I always look at especially when you're streaming a tight end in fantasy, you want to look at what the Vegas totals are for one, and what the team is projected to do. The Colts are heavy favorites in this game, which definitely benefits tight ends. Anytime there's a heavy favorite in a game, tight ends and running backs are always going to be the go-to for fantasy because you're expecting large leads. I can honestly see either one of those tight ends falling in the end zone, but on pure talent alone, Moelly Cox is the way to go.
And if there's one thing we know about Carson Wentz, it's that Carson Wentz loves targeting the tight end position in the red zone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope that trend continues this week. And
he also loves Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, he sure does. And for good reason. Any quarterback should love Michael Pittman Jr. That guy's looked incredible.
That touchdown was crazy.
So that guy's so dumb.
So that wraps up tight end and takes us into quarterback, whereas, every week we group think the quarterback position. Some of us kind of plant our flag on one guy more than the other, whatever the case may be. But this is the one position that we discussed together right before we hit record. And these are the week 6 results. So our quarterback smash of the week to go along with Mr. Ricky Seals-Jones was none other than Taylor Heineke. And this one was pretty much unanimous this week, I feel like, with the Heineke, he's not a bad quarterback, man, in the first place, but then the weapons he has around him, the possibility of a high scoring matchup, and then just how completely awful Kansas City's defense is. But then the great thing about this pick is Washington's defense is also awful. So Washington's going to have to keep scoring. They're going to have to keep throwing, and Heineke could really rack it up and have a big day. And he's right on that, borderline, like top 12 to 15 quarterback in most rankings this week as well. So, we didn't take Josh Allen for our quarterback smash this week. Nothing like that. We dug a little deeper, and so
I wish we could.
Right. Yeah, because he is most certainly going to smash. But yeah, so Taylor Heineke, I know both of you guys were on board with this pick as well, and Landon, especially you. So if you guys have,
I'm always on board with a Heineke pick, man. The last time I picked him, he made me look really good. So I don't see any reason why he's not going to. Well, I will say this: there's probably going to be an interception or two thrown in this game, just because I think he's going to be throwing a lot, because they're going to have to keep up. Which also conversely means if you have J.D. McKissick, you should be playing J.D. McKissick in this game, because for whatever reason, anytime they throw the ball, they refuse to put Antonio Gibson on the field. Totally not salty about that at all. But yeah, Taylor Heineke, like I said, I can see a pick or so, but even then, I can see this being one of those 3 touchdowns, 48, 50-yard rushing, 300-yard passing type of games, because that's what they're going to need to even keep it close. And even then, that's probably not even going to keep it close, because you're probably looking at a combined score of 70 points in this game, and 40 of those is probably going to be Kansas City.
52, right. I believe is what it's currently at.
Yeah,
I'd probably take the over.
I am taking the over.
Yeah. All right, so Landon, I'm going to let you transition us into our quarterback pass this weekend, man.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I didn't have anybody, or I didn't fight hard enough to stop the Justin Herbert pick, and conversely, this week nobody is fighting hard enough to stop me from getting out of my own way with this one. So I'm picking Kyler Murray, which, if you've watched any of the Arizona Cardinals this year, it sounds like a blasphemous statement. And I just think, look, okay, he's got the shoulder injury. I know it's minor, but from the sounds of everything with some of the doctors that have been looking at it and stuff, they're thinking that even though it is not a major injury, it could linger throughout the season. And last year, granted, the shoulder injury was a little bit different. It was a little bit worse, but the reason why he fell off so hard last year actually has nothing to do with him throwing the ball with a shoulder injury. It was him trying to preserve, I guess, the rest of his health, and for whatever reason, he quit running the football. Now that was probably to avoid taking hits on the shoulder, to avoid diving, just any unnecessary hits that he didn't have to take. I think you might get a little bit more of the same in this game. The matchup, we saw the Browns get absolutely shredded by Justin Herbert last week. Then again, everybody's
quarterback pass last week.
Yeah, I was going to say, then again, everybody who has been getting shredded by Justin Herbert, so that's not much of a surprise. But I think Cleveland's going to try to come out and make a statement. I think they're going to, I believe Rodney Hudson is also out in this game. Max Williams is more than likely done for the year. I'm pretty sure he's out for the season. So he loses his top tight end. They don't really have a lot of tight end depth there to begin with. DeAndre Hopkins is still hurt and not practicing. So his game status, while he'll probably play, he's definitely not 100%. So there's a lot of question marks right now. I believe also Chase Edmonds has been dealing with a little bit of injury as well over the last couple of weeks. So I mean, they're a very banged up offense, and anytime you lose Rodney Hudson in general, but your starting center, you're dealing with a shoulder injury. You just lost your tight end who's played really well this season. Your wide receiver one is banged up. Your running back one is banged up. And even though last week was a crazy week for the Cleveland defense, nobody can deny that defense has talent. And
yeah, they're better than what they showed.
And I think this more comes down to Kyler Murray trying to preserve himself a little bit more because of the injury. And I don't think he runs the ball as much. And now, granted, we've seen the growth to know that this year he doesn't have to run the ball to kill you. He can kill you from the pocket as well. So that's what you're banking on, hopefully. But that's just the way I see this game playing out. It's just a personal opinion. I'm kind of taking the bullet on this one. So if it doesn't go bad, or if it does go bad, I'll take the bullet on it. But just from previous, watching how that transpired last year, and on top of that, some of the pieces that they've lost this week, and going up against like I said, take last week out of the picture, it is still a very talented Cleveland defense. Pass rush is good. Linebackers have been fantastic. JOK, monster, probably rookie of the year right now for me. And then the back end has some talent on it as well. So yeah, I think this might be a week where you just need to lower, because I believe they have him ranked number 4 at quarterback. I believe he's quarterback 4 on the week. I think he's going to finish in the back half of that. I think he's more going to finish in the 10 to 12 kind of a range this week.
So if you have him, you're probably still starting him, but just temper expectations and fade him in DFS type of thing.
Yeah. You're never not starting Kyler Murray. You're never going to.
What if you've got Taylor Heineke on your bench?
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. I wouldn't have an issue at all. If you wanted to make that move. So we will see. I mean, what bold takes. I mean, Jared was right with Aaron Jones last week. We've had a couple really bold takes on here that have panned off. So I'm just trying to keep the train rolling.
Look, if you would have said Kyler Murray last week, I'm sure we would have thought you were crazy then too, and it would have been
a bad week
last week. So it's not. This guy is not susceptible to having bad weeks. Yeah, it can happen. So it is definitely a bold call. We'll see how it plays out. But it's not like you're just throwing a name on a wall and hoping it sticks. You've got your reasons. You've got some logic to back it up. So, it's much more than saying, well, he's in the top 5, so I'll just pick him and throw him on a wall and we'll see how it plays out. So I can appreciate that. Quarterback sleeper of the week.
And just to preface this, I have him in that 32-team dynasty league because I have an all Cardinals team. Literally, the player I have is the Cardinals. So I don't want him to be a pass. I want him to smash this week.
Right.
I want Kyler Murray to do good. So this isn't coming from I'm playing against him or, anything like that. I actually have him starting. So I hope I'm wrong, but I get a weird feeling. There's always that one weird game. And I think this could be a low scoring game this week where Cleveland's just going to try to grind the clock out and, limit whatever chances he does get, on the
Cleveland's favorite to win that game.
Yeah, they should be.
I did not know that, but it makes sense. It's at Cleveland, right?
Yep, 2.5.
I think they should be. I think I like Cleveland better as a team than I like Arizona. Even though Arizona's undefeated.
I was going to say, it's crazy to say about the undefeated Arizona Cardinals, but so the quarterback sleeper of the week, if you're watching on YouTube, this picture pretty much describes how I feel about picking big men for anything. But I'm the one that was really, was banging the table for this. I think with the matchup, even without Juju Smith-Schuster, I like Pat Freiermuth a lot. I like the other two wide receivers that are still there with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and James Washington. I'm sure he can step in and be fine. He's not going to be Juju, but I think he can step in and be fine. And Seattle's defense is just really, really fucking bad. And I mean, they start the season off like this sometimes. They've done it the last few years, and eventually they get it together. And I honestly, I don't know if that's going to happen this year. It probably will, but I'm going to keep betting against them, and I'm going to keep playing people against them until they show me that something has changed. And nothing has changed up to this point this season for me to be scared about playing anybody. And the reality is, Seattle or the Steelers' offensive line looked a lot better last week against a very respectable Denver Broncos defense. And if they can control the Denver Broncos pass rush, I don't have much of a concern with Seattle's. And Najee catches the ball out of the backfield. He can add some cheap yards for Big Ben. And Big Ben's deep ball looked better last week than it probably has all year. And I think that Claypool and Deontay both could be in for good games this week. And look, the main reason I was banging the table for this guy to be our quarterback sleeper this week is if you go over to the ECR for week 6, Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings, he's way down at quarterback 22. Like I like him more than Fields. I like him more than Goff. I like him more than Carr. It's borderline with Wentz.
I like him more than Darnold and Kirk Cousins this week.
Yeah, I like him more than these guys up here. I would probably play Trevor Lawrence over him. I like him more than I'd even say I like him more than Tannehill. Buffalo's defense looks legit. Now Tannehill will have Julio and AJ Brown this week, so that one is a little iffy. But even Tannehill just really has not looked like his normal self compared to how he's looked the last few years. So, I mean, Ben feels kind of buried.
I think the underrated thing with this pick too is you're projecting them to have the ball a lot on offense because that defense going against Geno Smith, you're not thinking that Geno's going to have long sustained drive in this game.
Yeah, the time of possession should be heavily in Pittsburgh's favor.
So you think Pittsburgh's going to have the ball and a lot of opportunity to put up some points in this game.
Yep, I agree.
Go Najee.
I think definitely the way Seattle's banged up too, and with having a running back that can catch the ball in the backfield like Najee Harris, it won't take away from Ben. It's only going to help. And I think with losing Juju, like those receivers, Claypool and Johnson are very intriguing this week as well against that Seattle defense. I think Ben's intriguing every week. Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's just so heavily targeted.
Right. I think Ben is due for a big game. I can easily see him hitting 20 plus points this week.
No, and I hate it. I hate the injury for Juju because it might be an unpopular opinion for whatever reason. I don't know why people hate him so much, but I really like Juju as a player. I
like Juju.
We don't, obviously none of us here on the show want to see anybody get hurt. But just for fantasy purposes, it really helps clear things up with that wide receiver position. I mean, you've got two clear guys now that are going to be getting the targets, whereas it was kind of tough to gauge how much Juju would cut into the other guys' workloads and things like that. So now having two clear alphas, at the wide receiver position on this team, this has nothing to do with Big Ben, but just fantasy talk in general. It does help navigate that team on a week-to-week basis a little bit more now, where you've got Najee in the backfield, you've got those two wide receivers. The thing I want to see now is I want to see Pat Freiermuth.
I think he's taking over.
I want to see him leapfrog Ebron.
Yeah,
snap percentage wise and things like that, because he's the better player. He needs to be on the field more. This offense would be better for it. So that's the next step I would like to see happen, that I hope happens this week, because it's just going to help with this pick if it does. So that's quarterback sleeper of the week. So that takes us into the highlight of the show, the money making matchups, where we try to get a little bit richer each week. So I will turn it over to Landon and Jared.
Yeah, so either you turn it over to me. This isn't really much of my domain. This is way more Jared's domain.
Yeah, I'm gambling on this damn game right now too. So I was picking up a ball. I'm sorry, my head's been down more often than not.
That's okay. I need Tom Brady to get old and get dementia. I want his dementia to kick in so he can forget that he has Antonio Brown on his team. That guy is getting so many targets.
Antonio Brown, yeah.
Chris Godwin's got 5 targets on the game. Mike Evans, I don't even know what Mike Evans has done. Mike Evans has got 4 targets. Antonio Brown
has 13.
13.
God dang. Yeah, he ate, man.
OJ Howard has 7 targets.
Yeah, don't even get me started. That one's chipping my ass right now. Is OJ Howard. Cameron Braid ain't done nothing.
Oh, he just called a pass.
Well, good. It's about time. All right, so we gotta do some FanDuel first, guys.
Yeah. Throw us a FanDuel lineup for this week.
Okay. This week there's only 10 games on the main slate, but there's some very high totals. And there's some really intriguing games. There's a lot of rolling the dice too. But something I feel really good about this week is I'm very high on our thumbnail guys, which was Dak and Amari Cooper. Like, I'm really big on that Dallas passing attack. I think a lot of people are going to be off of it because of the way Zeke has been playing here recently and the way they're running the ball. It's extremely high total in that game. New England can keep up with, they kept up with Tampa Bay. This is a road game. I think Dallas is going to pass the ball more than what they have been the last 2 weeks. And Amari Cooper is due for a big game. Like, he had a huge week 1 against Tampa, like a massive week 1, where he definitely looked like the alpha receiver. I still feel like he is the alpha receiver. CeeDee Lamb is definitely coming up. But as of right now, I'm all in on Amari Cooper. So we got Dak and Amari at quarterback and wide receiver. Running back, we're going to get a little creative here, mainly because it's a home team with a high total, I think they're like 23.75, basically 24-point total, and they are favorites. It is a split committee in the backfield, but this guy has big play potential, and that's Javonte Williams of Denver Broncos. I have a really good feeling about this. I think if he just busts one big one, then definitely it's going to be worth it. Melvin Gordon's going to cut into it. They're going to be a committee, but I think Williams is definitely the upside back. I would take him over Gordon because of the big splash ability. And then running back 2, I've got Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Definitely they're in one of the best positions of the week. Taylor looked amazing on Monday Night Football. Like, even though they blew that game, like he had that 76-yard reception. He's getting the passing workload now too, which is very nice.
He only had two catches last week.
He only needed 1.
I know. That's what I'm saying though. As great as that is, you're hoping he takes 170 yards to the house, but I feel I would love to see Frank Wright give him more than 10 touches.
Yeah. I think it's too good of a spot. I think it's easily 1 touchdown, multiple touchdowns easily could happen with this game. They do have a high point total. They're at home. Jonathan Taylor's in a great position, and he's relatively cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings this week, which is crazy coming off that Monday night game.
Right.
So we're gonna get a little sneaky again. We got a little sneaky with Javonte Williams to keep it within a high total game with a player I think has big splash ability. And Drew, you'll agree with me, is Van Jefferson of the Rams. This is definitely it is very under the radar. Not a lot of people are on this play. I think a lot of people are going to definitely go to Robert Woods coming off a big game from last week, and Cooper Kupp because it's Cooper Kupp. Van Jefferson can make some noise, and he can do it really quick. I think Deshaun Jackson's healthy. Is he healthy now, or is he still injured?
Deshaun Jackson is healthy.
He is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I still think
Van Jefferson, he plays the third most snaps at the wide receiver position.
Yes.
He outsnaps Deshaun Jackson on a week-to-week basis.
That game is going to, from a DFS perspective, it's going to be very popular. to get off some of that ownership of Robert Woods and Darrell Henderson, for that matter, who is in a great spot as well, and Cooper Kupp. I think Van Jefferson could be really sneaky. If you wanted to maybe go another sneaky route in that game, which I don't have any exposure to, is Tyler Higbee. I think he can easily be a really good smash play as well, because they are favorites and the Giants are a mess right now. They're banged up really bad, and that game could easily get out of control. With our third wide receiver, it's Tyreek Hill, and you're gonna eat ownership on it, but they have the highest total on the slate, the Kansas City Chiefs, and this guy has got the highest ceiling on that team. They're coming off a loss to Buffalo. They're pissed. They're gonna come out and they're gonna make a statement. I have a feeling that game is gonna be very interesting. Washington, I think, can keep up because I do believe in Heineke and I believe in Terry McLaurin. Gibson can get involved. J.D. McKissick, like they've got and Ronnie Seals. Like there's a lot of like value in Washington. Excuse me, this week as well. So that game could go. It can go back and forth. I think Kansas City will pull away with it. I think Tyreek Hill could easily have a 3-touchdown Tyreek Hill crazy fest. Maybe not 200 yards in the first half, but anything is possible with this guy. He's that talented. At the tight end position is a little bit, it's not really a punt the way he's been playing, and it gives us a double stack with Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper, and that's Dalton Schultz. I believe he is getting the target. He is the man in that position. He has surpassed Jarwin. They are favorites. And at the end of the day, like if you can look into either a running back or tight end, that is a very high favorite, then that's the route to go. There's a cat in the window there. Landon will hate this pick, but I've got reasons why it's a good pick. And that's Joe Mixon in the flex position. They are playing Detroit. Detroit is god awful against the run. Absolutely awful against the run. They've been terrible all season.
It'll be a big Chris Evans game.
Alexander Madison looked really good last week.
Alexander Madison looked like Dalvin Cook last week.
Alexander
Madison's a good player.
Better than Joe Mixon.
I think Alexander Madison is talented. I don't know if I can go that far, but I do like Alexander Madison as a player. But
yeah, I like Joe Mixon this week a lot. I think definitely people are going to be on the wide receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I think Higgins definitely is going to be lower owned than Jamar Chase. If you're wanting to go wide receiver stack with Joe Burrow, you may look into that and maybe put in CJ at tight end and try to do a little double stacking that way. But I love Mixon. I love the spot they're in, and I think he's going to have a big day. And then on defense, I have the Denver Broncos. I think the Raiders right now are a mess. And I think the Broncos have kind of let some people down, and this gives them a chance against a division foe to make a statement at home. And it also looks good too, from that DFS perspective, that you have a running back tied to a defense. At that point, you're hoping that they run the rock a lot and they get some turnovers, and that's the best way to stack on that. So to finalize it, we got Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Van Jefferson, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill, Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, and the Broncos defense on FanDuel.
All right. I've got it, and I've got it plugged in.
Yep.
Cool.
So we got it ready to go.
On DraftKings, as always, it's a little bit different FanDuel. Salaries are a little bit tighter, and it's a full point PPR. So we always put that disclaimer out where FanDuel is a half point PPR. So with that being said, I want to stick to as close to a FanDuel lineup as what I have on DraftKings. With that being said, we are going to double stack with Dak Prescott again. We're going to go a little bit different route. We're going to stick to Amari Cooper, and we're going to do another wide receiver in Cedric Wilson. I think Cedric Wilson could be definitely a sleeper pick. With that offense, they can put up points, and Wilson's got a lot of talent. He's a very talented wide receiver. The most popular receiver in that game is probably going to be CeeDee Lamb because of the price tag, and he's a good play, obviously. So is Zeke. Like, that's a game that definitely Dallas, I feel like they're gonna make a statement. But I think Bill is gonna try to take the running game away from Dallas, and he's gonna force Dak to throw a little bit more. In the way Zeke's been running, I feel like he has been probably the best player on that team, like over the last couple weeks. At the running back position, we got Jonathan Taylor once again. I don't really have to explain; he's in a great spot. Joe Mixon, who I believe is in a great spot as well. So DraftKings, you got to get creative. Another one we talked earlier, or I think maybe before we went live, a guy that shreds the Bears all the time, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And with a full point PPR, I believe Randall Cobb can have a really good game this week. I think he can be involved in that offense. I think he's got a chance at several targets. I think the Bears defense is still, it's not terrible. Like the Bears defense is actually, they won that game last week because Justin Fields did not play well at all either. But I think the Bears defense is good enough to where they're going to try to take out Davante Adams, and that's not going to probably happen very well for them, but they can at least take him out of the game to some degree, and Randall Cobb should open up a little bit for everybody. At the tight end position, since we couldn't squeeze in Tyreek Hill, we're going to go Travis Kelce at the tight end position. What do I need to say? He's tight end 1 or 2 every week.
Every week.
It's a layup.
Even when he's bad.
When he's bad, yeah.
He's good.
He's good. So in the FanDuel lineup, we had to make we ended up going Van Jefferson. I still want exposure to that Rams game. And because we went with 2 lower owned guys in Randall Cobb and Cedric Wilson, it gives us the ability to get a little bit chalkier, which play a player that's a little bit more popular, and that's Robert Woods in the flex. I think Robert Woods definitely is coming off a huge game. Going into the season, I had him and Cooper Kupp basically tied for the alpha of that offense. I thought actually, if I'm being honest, I thought Robert Woods would actually be a little bit more of a touchdown guy, where Kupp would be more of the yardage wide receiver. So far, it's not been the case, but I think this week playing the Giants, there's a possibility that all 3 of those guys could catch a touchdown, or Tyler Higbee has 2 touchdowns. There's just a lot of points to go around in that. And I think Robert Woods is a guy, especially on DraftKings, that easily, if it's full point PPR, he could be the leader in targets and receptions in that game. And then to finalize it, I've got the Carolina defense against the Minnesota Vikings. They are home. I think the game could be close. I don't foresee it being a crazy scoring game. And Carolina's defense has been solid for the most part of the year. They've had some bad weeks, but a lot of it had to do with Sam Darnold's turnover problems he had. It wasn't necessarily all on the defense, on them losing that game. I think they bounced back in a big way, and I think they give Kirk Cousins some trouble that week.
All right, so there we go. 1 free DraftKings lineup, 1 free FanDuel lineup.
Yeah,
hopefully we're a little bit, richer this time next week.
We ain't got to go back to work on Tuesday. That's the goal. Yeah, man, it's interesting. Man, you want to hear something crazy? Jalen Hurts tonight, 12 of 26, 115 yards passing,
2 rushing touchdowns,
25 fantasy points in 4-point quarterback leagues, 30 plus points in 6-point pass touchdown.
And that's why you can't fade Kyler Murray, because he easily could get 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. Last week I was a donkey. I was a donkey with the Herbert pick.
Yeah. So did you listen to my reasoning for the shoulder injury last year, and he quit rushing?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%.
So yeah, it's not like I'm factoring in him to be out here scrambling around for 100 yards. I'm saying that last year when he had a shoulder injury, he wanted to preserve himself and he quit rushing the football. That's why I'm fading him.
Sticking to it.
Hey, it's all right. We'll see. Look, if I get another one up over you after you did Justin Herbert, and then this one hits,
we're gonna make at
least a week. You got at least 1 week where you can't say anything to me.
Look, if you hit on this one too, we're just gonna make you like the resident quarterbacks pass picker of the week.
Yeah, you got it from here on out.
Yeah. So speaking of, me and Jared did play in our Amateur Experts Podcast League last week.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to ask you what. Like, I couldn't even fill in my flex position. It kept saying like player on IR. I'm like, not the player I'm trying to play. Like, it was weird.
I don't know.
Like,
That's Drew's. He's the commissioner. So
Did you have a player on IR that was no longer IR eligible?
no, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think I had T. Higgins. Yeah.
If there's a player on IR on your IR that's no longer IR eligible, they will not let you make any type of roster moves until you correct that. So that
explains it.
It
wouldn't have mattered anyways. They got annihilated, but
I believe
it was
yeah.
bad.
We'll put the score up here if you can see that. If you can't see it, it's 177 to 79. So
yeah, it was a bad week.
I gave him that 100 piece. So yeah, that's somehow I wasn't the highest scoring team that week. That was Drew. I never thought I would have scored 177. And
look, I put on a troll job at the start of the season and changed my team name to the Better Co-Host for that league, with it being our podcast league, and so I had to stay on brand.
Yeah, and I'm now 2-3. Finally, after the injuries have calmed down a little bit for me now. And I'm making my way back up. Got a tough one this week because I played against Zach Ertz, who caught a touchdown, Antonio Brown, and the Buccaneers defense. So I'm going down. I'm down 35, but I'm still only. I didn't have anybody go. I'm still projected to lose, but only by 1.2 points or something like that. So.
I'm actually projected to win this week. I'm 3-2 right now. So
yeah,
I'm 4-1, but I had Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Javonte Smith playing tonight. That was
Javonte.
That was a total of 27 points between those three players combined. So my projected total for the week dropped like 15 points tonight, I think. So I got some ground to make up on Sunday. I'm projected to lose by 2 points now, but I'm playing James, who has Christian McCaffrey. So fingers crossed. I'm actually playing Christian McCaffrey in 2 different leagues this week. So fingers crossed the Panthers, play it safe and let him rest one more week. I really, 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 really need that. So, and James is a very smart man and went and picked up Ricky Seals-Jones to play in his tight end position because he had George Kittle, who is now on IR. So don't love it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, if you didn't watch the rest of this game, can we outlaw the taunting penalty already?
Yeah, it's so
stupid.
This game was decided on a taunting penalty that moved Tampa Bay into a first down and allowed them to run off the clock.
Yeah, that's such a stupid. The whole taunting shit is so dumb.
Because the defensive player made a play and stood up, and after the play, he looked down at Leonard Fournette and stared at him.
Dumb.
Taunting penalty, and that lost the game for the Eagles. Now, granted, they should have never been down that much, but it was only a 1-possession game. They were literally they were down 6 points, and they would have had a drive if that taunting penalty didn't happen. So, yeah, I know the NFL thinks that they're doing it for the integrity or whatever the hell why they're doing it. They want they want a fair game or whatever. But it's making for a really bad product. It makes things a lot.
If somebody does something really cool on the field, they should be able to celebrate that.
These are human beings. They're not robots.
Football's fucking hard, man. If you do something good, if you succeed, you should be able to celebrate that. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's rough. So
man, Mike Evans. Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin.
Oh my God.
Mike Evans did. Evans did what Mike Evans does.
Yeah. 45 attempts from Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin combined for 9 targets off of 45 attempts.
Brutal.
That's insane.
OJ Howard, man. The Antonio Brown thing doesn't surprise me because he loves throwing to Antonio Brown. OJ Howard surprised the shit out of me. that those are the targets that surprised me.
Yeah.
Once again, proves that tight end is so volatile. Like anything can happen.
You just never know. So
yeah, OJ Howard was totally going to be my tight end sleeper this week, but it was the Thursday night game, so I just couldn't pick it, But
right,
JK,
well,
I'm totally joking.
Well, yeah, let's. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That's a wrap on week 6.
That's a wrap on week 6. So I can't wait to come back on here after the inevitable Kyler Murray 50-point game here on Tuesday. Which, like I said, I'm starting him. I'm not pulling him. So if he does have a 50-point game, look. Once again, this is the Skip Bayless, formula. Either he plays bad, I don't win my fantasy matchup, but I win on here. Or he plays bad, or he plays good, I look like an idiot on here, but I win my fantasy matchup if he plays good. So, hey, it is what it is.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
You've got the formula down pat at this point.
I can't lose. It
took less than 50 episodes for you to master it.
Yes.
This is, speaking of which, by the way,
I've been mastering that for years.
If you're on YouTube, this is episode 51, so we have cracked the half-century mark for our YouTube uploads. So I thought that was kind of cool too. Whenever I was putting in the Zoom info and saw that I had to type out episode 51, I was like, wow, we're up over 50 now.
It's crazy, especially considering like whenever me and Jared, like whenever you remember when we had the older podcast. I believe we made it only into like 30s, the early 30s.
I'm still subscribed. I can let me go to my podcast app. I can tell you, because I made an appearance on a couple of those.
The Not So Live podcast.
The Not So Live podcast. Yeah, man. I'm still subscribed on here.
I wonder how many episodes we did. That was a fun podcast.
It was.
Yeah, it's been so long the episodes have been taken off.
Oh wow.
0 episodes.
Well, I mean, it's been every bit of probably 5 to 6 years.
Oh, every bit of it.
Yeah, since we've recorded.
I have him. I think I have some archived on the computer somewhere.
I've still got the podcast on my list of shows on Apple Podcasts. Though
I was gonna say, if we ever just want to giggle about something when we first started.
I do too. I've actually got it on here on my computer. I have them archived. Let's see, podcasts, finished product. We have 14 episodes.
That was it?
Yeah, that's all we did was 14 episodes.
Wow.
That one was a little more tough though, because we had to a couple of you guys were living together, but like we weren't doing Zoom or anything back then. Like we had to correlate times and go to Landon's house and huddle around the computer.
A little desk.
Yeah,
a little desk.
Two microphones, 3, 4, 5 guys huddled around one desk.
We did a lot more like
y'all did a lot of wrestling.
Yeah. There was a lot more wrestling. There was a lot more pop culture. I know we had one episode where it was purely just me and Jared. Like we went to midnight show and got our Nintendo Switches at midnight, and we came home and cut a podcast and like did reviews on the Nintendo Switch and played it. And we had some where we interviewed like a couple friends of ours that were wrestlers, and then we had Drew on a couple different ones like baseball and the NBA. We did a lot more NBA stuff.
Yeah.
Back then too.
Our very first show was an NBA show. I remember that one. It was whenever you were still living out in Metropolis.
Yeah.
It was us 3, and I forget the guy's name. He was a really nice guy that you guys knew. Oh, I wish I could remember his name. He was a really cool guy, man, but it was the first time I had ever met him. But y'all knew him. That he was there.
Jacob Hall.
Jacob Hall.
Jacob Hall did it with us. Yeah, I've got it pulled up here.
That was a lot of fun, man.
We got one. We did one. It was actually Jared wasn't with us, but it was me, you, and Nate did one in an NFL show.
Me, you, and Jay did one too.
Yeah. That was a fun show, man. We need to get back into like that kind of formula where like we just end up like we can do these, and then
we should do that like one night here and there. We should just get together and do something like that.
Well, we literally have an episode on there called Shooting the Shit. That's literally the name of an episode. So yeah, that's interesting. So
it's so hard to focus on anything other than NFL during
It
football
is.
season.
so-
NFL,
it's so
NFL is
life-consuming.
king. NFL is
Yeah,
Yes.
it is so life consuming, man. Especially now for me, like with the Cardinals being out of the playoffs. Like I'm completely like I'm still watching the playoffs, but I don't care to spend a second talking
Right.
about it. Like I'm all in talking. I want to talk about nothing but football. So
I play a
Well-
lot of NBA on FanDuel on
could care less
DraftKings.
about
but
the NBA.
it is good
But,
for DFS.
yeah,
I've been
it's-
more successful with
it's
the
a lot
NBA on
easier than
DFS.
So
football.
I found that today, the Mountain Dew Voodoo for the 2021.
Oh
year,
yeah,
which normally like I only drink diet drinks. I don't like sugar sodas, but I did try this one. It tastes like sour gummy worms. It's weird. So
that's
if you-
interesting.
yeah, it's really weird. So if anybody's wondering, like if they come across it and they're listening to this and they're like, what does that taste like for whatever like dumb reason? We have the answer on this show. So yeah. What's Big Jared got? What are
He went back there to grab
So,
something.
well, you had to show your drink that you got. I got me one too while I was in Oklahoma, and it is called Rocket Fizz, and it tastes just like cinnamon. I mean, like they had so many different like weird flavors and everything too, but I love cinnamon for some reason. And man, it tastes like a big like thing of Big Red,
I think,
the gum.
dude, I think Menards has some of those sodas.
They
like
got
that.
Rocket Fizz. Oh, dude,
I don't know if they have that brand, but I know they've got a lot of sodas like that, like the
some oddball ones.
yeah, the weird flavored sodas.
Yeah, I like all that weird stuff.
Yeah, you should go to Menards. Save big money.
Save big money.
Say, baby.
OJ Howard
That's
cost
what I
me
tell
big
Emily
money.
whenever we got to go to Menards. Like I'll ask him, like, you want to go save some big money? It's like, yeah,
That's
we'll go.
funny.
Because we only live like 7 minutes away from it, so it's just literally like a straight shot over there. But yeah, I mean, do you want to do the closing and we'll just go ahead and wrap this one up?
Yeah, might as well. We
Yeah.
did our little end of episode thing where we just kind of go off the rails.
This is
but-
what we do like before we
Yeah.
hit record most of the
Right.
time.
Yeah. Mostly if we hit record as soon as we all join the meeting, these things would be 3 hours long. But as always, first and foremost, thank you guys for listening. If you've made it this far, I really need to start doing this thing at the beginning of the show, just to get the most bang for our buck on it. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening. You can find us pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found: Apple, Google, Spotify, whatever the case may be. We appreciate any follow, subscribe, whatever that platform wants you to do. We appreciate it. And then if you want the visuals to go with the audio, we are over on YouTube as well. Head over there, the Amateur Experts Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel while you're there. Click the little bell that's going to pop up so that you can be notified. We're, pumping out 2 episodes a week. It's like a Wednesday and a Friday type of thing where, you're only going to get 2 notifications a week, nothing crazy. But you can stay up to date with the most recent episodes. And then while you're here, as you were listening, I'm sure you probably agreed and disagreed with some things that you heard. So drop down in the comments, let us know where you agree, where you disagree, who your favorite plays are this week, and give us some feedback so that we can talk it out, hash it out in the comments as well. And then if you've made it this far, hopefully you liked at least some of what you heard. So while you're here, go ahead and like the video as well. All that different type of stuff helps us out on the YouTube platform. So, but I started and ended the same way every time with thank you, and thank you.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And we will see you next week after week 6, hopefully a little bit richer. So y'all have a wonderful weekend. Have a great day of football, and we'll catch up with you later.